What's going on, music creators? It's your boy Fly Guy Jay, and I'm back with another video. It's Wavy Wednesday, so you know what that means. It's time to check out another Waves plugin.
Nice.
If you want to learn more about mixing and mastering and how to use different plugins to enhance your mix, go ahead and click that subscribe button and click the bell so you can get notifications of future videos. Now today we're going to be looking at the Waves C6 Multiband Compressor. I'll be showing you guys a simple but often overlooked technique that you can use to mix your 808s and your kick drum. We'll use the Waves C6 to carve out some space in the 808 where that kick can punch through and really pop. Now without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so right now I've pulled up a machine session for a beat that I've produced, and I'll give you guys a quick preview of the beat, and then we'll dive in a little deeper and take a look at how I'm using this Waves C6 compressor to mix the 808 and the kick drum. Just another day in the life of a fly guy. So you can hear the 808 in this beat is still thick, it's still fat, and it's still knocking, but the kick drum has its own space. So when that kick drum hits through, it's cutting through that 808 and it's really popping and standing out in the mix. I was able to accomplish this by using the Waves C6 sidechain compressor and sidechaining the 808 to the kick drum. So every time the kick drum hits, the 808 is ducking to make room for the kick. Let's take a look at it. So the processing I'm doing on my 808, I'm using the Waves R bass plugin to add some harmonics to the low end and help it stand out on smaller speakers. This is very similar to the Waves Max bass plugin, which I did an overview on in one of the previous episodes of Wavy Wednesday. I'll leave a link if you want to check that out. Next, I'm using this F6, Waves F6, and I'm basically rolling off a lot of the high end that I didn't want in this particular 808. Let me solo this and I'll show you why I'm using this real quick. So let's bypass this. This is the 808. You can hear there's a lot of character, a lot of grit, a lot of extra noise that I wanted to take out of this sample. For this particular song, I wanted a clean 808. So let me play this back and I'll engage the F6. Now you can hear how clean it's sounding. Now all that noise comes back with the F6 engaged. It's nice and clean. The other reason I'm using this F6 is because I want to see visually where the strength of this 808 is. So I can see there's a lot around 30. There's some around 60. And you'll see when I go to the kick drum and look at the F6, this bass is going to be clashing with my kick drum around 60 hertz. And then lastly, I'm using the Waves C6 plugin. And you can see I'm carving out space for my kick drum around 60 hertz. I'm bypassing all of these other frequency bands. And I am using this higher frequency band to also carve out some space. This is basically the top end of my kick drum, which I'm making room for. Now, before I dive into how I use the C6, I want to show you guys the before and after by bypassing the C6 plugin in and out. So I'll play this drum loop again. Make sure you're wearing good headphones because you won't be able to hear the difference if you don't have some good headphones on. I'll start with the C6 plugin off. I'll start playing the beat, and then I'll re-engage the plugin on and off. So this is without the C6. On. So you can see visually when the C6 is engaged, it's carving out the space in the 808, and you can hear that kick is punchier. It's a lot snappier, and it sounds more present in the mix because we've carved out that space in the 808 for the kick to shine through. Now, real quick, let's go over how to set this up and the settings that I'm using. So I'm bypassing all of the frequency ranges except for this low band that I have set to 60 and this upper band where I have set to 5500. For both of the bands that I'm using, I've made sure that I've clicked the internal button and changed that to external. And what this allows you to do is use another sound as the source that's going to control when your compression is happening. So we're going to use an external sound, which is my kick drum, to tell the C6 compressor when to react. The next step is to tell the C6 what external source you want to use. Now, depending on which DAW you are using, this step will vary, but in Machine, how you do this is you go to the 808 track, make sure you're on the sound tab, and then you go to this source input, and you basically click on the drop down menu and you tell it which sound you want to trigger your compression. So my kick drum is on my group A, sound 1. So we're going to set this to A1, S1, and now my kick sound will be triggering the C6. The next thing you want to do is you want to set your range and tell the compressor what's the lowest you want it to go. So I have it set to minus 10 dB, but you can change this to taste. You can go down, let's say, minus 12, or you can increase it, let's say like -8, and, you know, play around with it and see what sounds best to you. The attack determines how fast the compression is going to start. So when that kick drum hits, how fast do you want the 808 to duck? You want to make sure for your attack, you have a relatively fast attack so that that 808 will move out the way quickly when that kick signal is hitting the compressor. I have mine set to attack of 16, but again, you can change this and tweak it to your liking. The release determines how long the compression lasts. Again, we're only trying to carve out space for the kick drum. So we don't want the compression to last very long. We want it only to last while the kick is hitting and then no compression after that. So you want to use a fairly quick release, but you might increase this if your kick sample is longer in length. I have it set to 25 for this particular kick. The other important thing is to set your frequency right. So there's two different methods you could use to find the frequency. The first method I'm going to show you is a more basic method, and that requires pulling up a graphical EQ so that you can see where your kick drum is hitting. So let's go to the kick track, and I'll pull up the F6. I'll play the track, and we'll take a look at the graph to see where this kick is hitting. So you can see the kick is hitting around 60 hertz. If you look at the frequency range on the bottom. So when we go back to our 808, we're going to want to set our C6 to 60 hertz. That way we'll be carving out the 808 to make space for the kick around this 60 hertz frequency range. So you can see with this F6 EQ that's on my kick sample, also what I've done is I've boosted a little bit at 60, I think about 1.5 dB, just to help it punch a little bit more. And I've also rolled off some of the low end. Everything below 30, I cut to make more room for the sub frequencies in the 808. All right, so remember our kick drum was at 60 hertz. So let's close this and go back to our 808 track. And in this frequency box here, that's where I typed in 60. The second method of finding the frequency would be to use the fundamental frequency of the kick drum. Now this track was produced in the key of C sharp. So if I go to a tuning frequency chart, you can see that C sharp resides at 69.3 hertz. So what I could do is I could go back to Machine, pull up the C6, and I could set this to 69 hertz. Now your Q determines how wide of a cut you want to make. So with a lower Q value, you'll be carving out more frequency range. I think I had this set to about 1.8, but again, you can play with this to taste and see what sounds best to you for your particular kick drum and your particular 808 sample. So what I'll do now is I'll solo the 808, and then we'll use this speaker button so that you can hear what's going on in each of these ranges. So by soloing that, you can get a better idea of what I'm controlling in each separate frequency band. Now, just to exaggerate this effect, let's go ahead and tweak this to the extreme. We'll change the Q to 0.5, and let's change the range to -18 dB. We'll drop the attack to the lowest setting of 0.5, and we'll increase the release. Let's set it to 150. So a longer release so that compression is going to last longer. Just so you guys can get a feel for how these controls affect the sound. We'll start with the plugin engaged. Off. On. So with that longer release time, you can hear that the bass is staying compressed. It's ducking, it's staying down, and then it's slowly coming back up in volume. And you can hear that gives the 808 a pumping effect versus with the faster release, it was ducking and then coming right back. You really want to tweak this release value so that it only lasts for as long as your kick drum lasts. Now, again, that was exaggerated for tutorial use only. I wouldn't use a Q that wide when I'm using this technique on my 808 drum. Something like this would be more feasible. So as you can see, it's not that difficult of a technique to use. It's rather simple to set up, and when used properly, it can really get your kicks to cut through the 808 and punch in your mix. If you guys enjoyed the tutorial, or if you learned something new, give me a thumbs up, drop a comment in the comment section, let me know what other Waves plugins you guys would like me to review in future episodes. If you're interested in purchasing this Wave C6 multi-band compressor, I'll leave a link in the description that'll take you to this page where you can go ahead and order the plugin. Also, I'll leave a link in the description for anyone who wants to listen to or purchase the beat. If you haven't subscribed yet, I really don't know what you're waiting for. Go ahead and press that subscribe button, click the bell so you can get notifications of future Wavy Wednesday episodes, man. Until next time, keep learning, keep creating, and keep grinding. I'm out.